G'day everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is the 1.2.10 update for Empires of Europe 1100. Now, full transparency, I only started working on this update a week ago, but it's come together very quickly. But also, the community has rejected my suggestion of a full troop overhaul, which, to be honest, I'm still recovering from the shock of that one. But 75% of you said no, leave the current troops as they are, so no worries. That's what I'll do. I've decided what I'll do instead is I will go through and add variations for all the existing troops because there's quite a lot that don't have them. And yeah, shout out to the person who mentioned that the other day. I think that's a good idea. But there's some really big quality of life updates with this release, which is why I wanted to get it out quickly. And I'll save those troop variations for the next release. So with that, let's cover off what's new. So first up is the new settlements, which I've brought over from 1700. So first of these we've got is Amsterdam, with the bound settlements of The Hague and Amersfoort. Now, we don't have a Dutch culture in 1100, so I've just kept it as German and given it to the existing Holland clan in the Holy Roman Empire. But that probably makes sense for our time period, so I think that's okay. Moving over into Hungary, and I've split Budapest into its two separate towns on either side of the river. Now, even though it looks like a town prefabs, these are actually still just villages. And Buda is bound to Zagreb, with Pest bound to Hajnaka Castle. But happy with the way that turned out. You know, looks pretty good, and you know, more accurate version of what the two towns looked like at the time. Moving east, we've now got Debrecen in the central Hungarian region. And it has two bound settlements of Szolnok and Karul. And then moving over into Transylvania, I've also added in Cluj-Napoca with a single bound settlement of Sibiu. So I mentioned this a while ago in a 1700 video, but I really wanted to build out this empty space in kind of central and eastern Hungary and Romania. Which we've now done. So yeah, kind of gives you a few more settlements to interact with when you're operating in that region. And then moving over into central Iran now, or I guess western Iran, I've added in Hamedan. This was another really big, wide open space. So I've put this in here and given it two bound settlements with Sisar and Karhavand. So that makes the Persian footprint a little bit larger, but also helps to build up that empty space. So our next update is BannerColorPersistence Integration. So first off, a big thanks to the author of that mod, Quackank, who has allowed me to directly integrate this, which means you no longer need to download it as a dependency. And for players who've already got it, you can actually get rid of it now. And everyone will have these, you know, nice looking banners by default. You don't have to do any extra download config or anything like that. So this is also a huge relief for me because I have to spend time literally every single day telling people to download the right version. This is also why I was so keen to get this update out as quickly as possible. But yeah, everyone will now be able to enjoy the banners as intended. Also, just a quick shout out to Slaver, who has redone some of the Rus banners for us. Which also look really good. So I was happy to add those into this release as well. So our next update here is another mod integration. I found a mod called Customisable Clan Tier. And what this does is it allows you to adjust the amount of renown required to achieve each tier level. And thank you to the author of this mod for letting me integrate this. His name is 2763816. Might be a stormtrooper or something, but very grateful to him for letting me integrate this mod. So if we look at the table on the left, we can see the new tiers and what I've done. Only 25 renown required to get to tier 1 and become a mercenary. Only 50 required at tier 2 to become a vassal. And then only 250 total to get to tier 4, where you can start your own kingdom. So essentially get to that late game phase a lot faster. The other thing you can see in this table is that I've increased the total number of tiers to 10, with every tier after 4 adding another party, another companion, and an extra 15 party size for every party in the clan. So that's going to allow you, by the time you get to tier 10, that's going to allow you to field a much larger army, which is going to become important when we talk about the next update, which is invasions. Okay, so moving on to our last big update, which is another mod integration. This time it is the well-known custom spawns. And thanks to the original author, Anapi, for letting me integrate this, because it's gonna add some exciting gameplay. Basically what I've done is I'm using this mod to spawn parties at set point in times. And if you look at the little red notification in the feed here, it's telling us a new Crusader army has spawned at Hideout. Unfortunately, that doesn't give much away, but the location is always the same, which is down the back of Jerusalem here towards Philadelphia. So what the mod does is 100 days into the game, a large Crusader army will spawn. There's actually 2 separate parties of 2,500 each. Now these parties will always be at war with the Muslim nations or factions. They will always be at peace with the Christian factions, but they will never join a faction like other mercenary clans. They just remain a party that roams around the map. They actually stay in their general area, and the Crusaders will eventually wander over to Caesarea and Jerusalem and just attack any hostiles in that area. Now, you may be thinking this is, a big advantage to the Christian nations, except that about 50 days after the Crusaders spawn, a Jihadist army will spawn, or 2 Jihadist parties actually, and these ones are actually a bit larger than the Crusaders. These parties will fight each other if they come into contact, but that won't happen straight away because the Crusaders will actually make their way over to Caesarea before the Jihadist army spawns. But both will stay in the general area, and eventually they probably will come into contact with each other. Now, the cool thing about these armies is that there are huge rewards for defeating them. Initially, you will get 1,000 influence, 1,000 renown, which should help you get to the next tier, 1 million in gold, and finally, some unique weapons and armour. And there's a different set for both the Crusader army and the Jihadist army. So we'll just take a look at the Crusader set here. You can see their existing meshes. The actual stats, we can see 50 for the head, 20 for the cape, 50, 20, 30, and 30 for the feet. The sword, that's some of the highest stats you'll see on a single hand sword. The shield, large, high hit points and fast, and the Holy Lance, which also is top tier of anything else in the game. If we move over to the Jihadist weapons, similar. Here's the sword. Very, very proud of my handiwork here. Actually, a real sword that existed. If we move over to the Jihadist gear, similar sort of format. The Jihadist sword Zulfikar is actually again, it's a real sword. Is actually higher stats than the Crusader sword. That effectively makes it the best weapon in the game. But all of these items are really high level. So you might be wondering why reward such good gear. Well, the answer to that is because these 2 armies are actually just the beginning, and the idea is that by defeating these armies, you're making yourself powerful enough for the next challenge, which is the invasion of the nomadic horde. So about 100 days after the last Jihadist army spawns, we will then get the appearance of the nomadic horde, and this will be in the western Anatolia region. So these armies will be very large. There'll be 2 armies of 3,750 each, and all of the units are either high tier horse archers, heavy cavalry or skirmisher cavalry. So all mounted units and all very strong. So you can kind of see what I'm doing here, essentially simulating the invasion of the Mongol hordes, even though that's quite a bit later than our time period. But it's designed to create an endgame activity for you. Because these armies are so large, you're going to need a very big army yourself just to be able to try and beat them. So that means you probably need to conquer a big chunk of the map. You're going to need to get a large number of lords over to your side so that you can field an army large enough to actually take these guys on. So you can see here, this is generally where they spawn and where they hang out. It'll be in this Western Anatolia, Georgia, Armenia type region. So there'll be another set of rewards for defeating these guys. The same influence, renown, and gold. And then another unique set of gear for the player, including a new bow, which is going to be the top tier bow in the game as well. So you could do something crazy and try and beat these guys first, and then go and use that gear against the Crusaders and the Jihadists. But it's going to be pretty tough to do it that way. But yeah, those are our new invasion mechanics. So yeah, should be a lot of fun and actually give you a long-term goal to strive for with the mod. So those are the major changes with this update. A good mix of quality of life changes, but also some new content with these invasions. And I think the main thing here is trying to fix one of the big flaws with Bannerlord, which is long-term goals and something to do in the end game. So hopefully these invasions add a new challenge and create some more playability and a reason to come back and try the latest update. So with that, we'll call it a day, and I will see you next time.